Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's been now nearly 70 years since the emergence of civilian nuclear energy in the U.S., and yet we still have not found a workable solution to address the storage and disposition of spent nuclear fuel. The Nuclear Waste Policy Act set a goal of setting up a permanent repository to accept spent fuel by no later than 1998, but 26 years later, we're no closer to finding a solution to the problem. And that's unfortunate because the magnitude of the problem only continues to increase. American nuclear reactors have created nearly 90,000 metric tons of spent fuel that must be stored, and right now this fuel is being stored on site at nuclear facilities across the nation where it was once used to generate power. It's even at locations that no longer have an operating nuclear reactor, like Oyster Creek site, not far from my district in New Jersey. And the lack of progress on spent fuel is particularly difficult for these communities since they cannot complete decommissioning or start redevelopment of a former reactor site until the fuel can be relocated. And the federal government has a responsibility and an obligation to the more than 70 communities that currently are home to spent fuel throughout the nation. It's critical that we find a solution that does not abandon these communities and that does not continue to come at a steep price to American taxpayers. The Government Accountability Office projects that taxpayer liability relating to spent fuel will exceed $60 billion by 2030. And we have a duty, both to the nuclear communities and to all taxpayers, to find a solution that allows us to move this spent fuel as soon as we can. This committee has a history of bipartisan work on this issue. 2018, we worked together to find a bipartisan path forward by passing the Nuclear Waste Policy Amendments Act, led by former committee members John Shimkus, as was mentioned, and Jerry McNerney. Building on that progress, I hope we can develop new bipartisan solutions to this long, intractable issue. Now, the Biden administration has recognized the urgent need for action and has responded to the call. It has continued building towards a consent-based interim storage siting process. And just last year, the Department of Energy made $26 million worth of awards to a dozen different consortia to explore a community and consent-based approach to siting facilities to store and dispose of spent fuel. These efforts will help us find a path forward that is legally and politically durable, just what communities across this nation need. And I believe that Congress must support the Biden administration's efforts here. It's a small step forward, but it represents the most concrete progress towards a solution for spent fuel that we've made in the last 15 years. And while most of the debate recently is focused on what to do with existing spent fuel, as we move to more advanced reactors that demand advanced, higher enriched fuels, the spent fuel issue will change. While some advanced reactor designs tout innovative ways to limit the amount of spent fuel that they produce, we still must take these technologies into account as we develop solutions to responsibly store this material in the decades to come. So I look forward to hearing from our witnesses about how we can find a durable pathway forward that works for communities, ratepayers, and all Americans. And I'd like to yield the remainder of my time to Representative Matsui.